The Nothing Phone 4B may look like one of the best budget phones around. It's got a massive battery, the cool Glyph light bar, and that signature transparent style. But before you reach for your wallet, there are some surprising caveats. Why are Nothing fans buzzing about this phone, and more importantly, should you really buy it? Stick around, and by the end you'll know exactly whether the 4B is the right phone for you, or if you should wait or look elsewhere. We'll cover what it does well, where it falls short, and who it's actually good for without all the hype. At first glance, the 4B is unmistakably a nothing phone. It blends the transparent reveal look of the 4A series with the unibody build of the 4A Pro. The back is mostly solid plastic, unlike the metal on higher-end models, but it keeps a bit of the trademark see-through vibe around the camera island and glyph strip. It's a chunky handset, about 210 grams, so it feels substantial in hand. The plastic frame means it's less premium feeling than a metal or glass phone, but it should also survive drops a bit better. Nothing even claims it resists 25 centimeters of water for 20 minutes, IP64 rated, which means it's splash-proof, but don't take it scuba diving. You get 3 color options, black, white, and blue, all still boldly, nothing in style. A small heads up, there's a special red RCB edition in India with cricket branding. But don't worry, the regular colors are all you'll need. The Glyph bar LED on the back is back in a simpler form. It has 45 tiny LEDs that light up for notifications, charging, calls, and more, and Nothing claims they can reach 3,500 nits of brightness. It's a fun novelty, but we'll see if it actually helps you notice alerts under bright skies. The phone has an in-display fingerprint scanner, optical, which works fine but isn't as fast as the top-end ultrasonic sensors you'd find on more expensive phones. Overall, the 4B looks and feels unique, but it's clearly a step below a premium flagship. The Phone 4B sports a big 6.77-inch Super AMOLED panel with a 120Hz refresh rate. In plain English, it's large and smooth. Colors are punchy and black's deep, it's OLED after all. So videos and games look lively. The 120Hz rate means UI animations and scrolling feel buttery. Nothing's display is definitely one of the highlights here. The screen is 1080p FHD+, which isn't mind-blowing sharp at 381 pixels per inch, but it still looks clean for most uses. You probably won't notice individual pixels at normal viewing distances. Brightness-wise, Nothing claims a peak of 2000 nits, which is huge on paper. In reality, phone reviewers note that the typical brightness is lower, so you might need to find shade in direct sunlight. In our tests, the display remained readable indoors and in mild sunlight, but on a blazing sunny day, it could struggle a bit. On the plus side, it supports HDR10+, and even has a super fast 1000 Hz touch sampling rate, which means the screen responds instantly to your taps and is ready for gaming. Speaking of gaming, the 120Hz panel is great for watching high frame rate games. It can handle 90 FPS in PUBG and other big titles. In short, the 4B's screen is colorful and smooth, though not quite at flagship brightness or resolution levels. Under the hood, Nothing went with Qualcomm's Snapdragon 6 Gen 4 chipset paired with 8GB of RAM. This is a solid mid-range processor built on a 4nm process. It's no Snapdragon 8 series flagship, but it's perfectly adequate for everyday tasks. Messaging, browsing, video calls, light multitasking, all feel snappy. In our hands-on time, we noticed no stuttering. Apps launch quickly and the UI animation is fluid. Games like Subway Surfers ran at the full 120 FPS, and even demanding titles like Call of Duty Mobile or BGMI can hit up to 90 FPS on this phone. That's mostly thanks to the vapor chamber cooling, 4,400mm, which helps keep the chip from throttling. However, be realistic. This isn't a gaming phone designed for ultra graphics. The Adreno 8110 GPU inside is decent, but not class-leading. You can play Fortnite or COD, but you'll have to run them at medium settings to maintain those high frame rates. If you're a hardcore mobile gamer, you might prefer a phone with a higher-end chipset, like the Nothing Phone 4A Pro or a Snapdragon 7 series phone. Also note the memory and storage. 8GB LPDDR4X RAM is fine for 2024, but flagship phones have already moved to 12GB or more, and faster LPDDR5 RAM. The 128GB or 256GB storage here uses UFS 2.2, not the newest UFS 3.0.3.1. That means apps load a bit slower than on more expensive phones, but it's still serviceable for normal use. Real-world takeaway, the 4B will handle social media, videos, and casual gaming without complaint, but don't expect flagship-level benchmarks or ultra-realistic graphics. It's built for balance. Good enough day-to-day speed, but if raw power is your priority, there are better options. The Phone 4B runs Nothing OS 4.1 on top of Android 16. In practice, that means a very clean, almost stock Android interface with a monochrome aesthetic and a few unique touches like glyph-related animations and custom widgets. There's very little bloatware and the settings menus are simple. If you're upgrading from a standard Android phone, Nothing's skin should feel familiar and uncluttered, but the 4B also comes with essential AI tools built in. For example, it has a built-in voice assistant feature called Essential Voice that can clean up your voice notes and translate speech in real time. It also integrates ChatGPT for quick AI-powered answers and Google's Gemini for searches and content creation. You'll find an essential key on the side. Tap it to access things like a personal AI space, search, voice recorder, and even AI camera filters. This is the same AI suite that Nothing's pricier phones got, so nothing is held back here. In practical terms, that means if you like playing with AI tools, generating notes, translating on the fly, scanning text, or using fancy camera modes, the 4B is surprisingly capable for a $400 phone. On the other hand, not everyone needs an AI assistant. If you're not interested in those features, the 4B still feels like a clean Android phone. The good news is that Nothing has promised 3 years of Android upgrades and 6 years of security patches, which is very generous for this price bracket. Long-term support is usually a concern with cheap phones, but Nothing has your back here. The Nothing Phone 4B has a dual camera setup on the back. There's a 50MP main sensor with f/1.8 aperture and optical image stabilization (OIS), and a 119-degree ultra-wide camera, no telephoto lens. On paper, that's not a bad combo, a high-res main cam and a wide cam for group shots and scenery. In real life, it's a mixed bag. In good light, the main 50MP camera takes solid photos with balanced colors and decent detail. We noticed it tends to favor natural tones over super-saturated Instagram-style results. Dynamic range is good, and HDR works well, so bright skies and shadows usually look fine. However, as soon as lighting drops, you can see the limits. The ultra-wide camera has a small sensor, just 1/4, so wide-angle shots in low light or at night come out soft and a bit grainy. There's no dedicated zoom lens, so any zoom beyond 2x is just digital crop. It will lose detail fast. For video, the 4B can shoot 4K at 30 FPS with OIS plus EIS support, which gives pretty smooth footage for handheld clips. Dual video mode is a fun party trick, simultaneously record front and back cameras, but note that 4K is capped at 30 FPS, no 60 FPS option. Bottom line, the camera setup is decent for everyday snapshots and social media. It's not spectacular, it won't outshoot a Pixel or a Galaxy S, especially in tough lighting, but the big sensor and OIS help it hold its own in daylight. If you're a casual photographer, you'll probably be satisfied. If you're a pro photographer or really care about zoom or low-light performance, you might find it lacking. Here's one area the Phone 4B really excels in: battery. It packs a 5,200 mAh battery globally and even 6,000 mAh in India. That's massive for a modern phone. The biggest battery Nothing has ever put in a device. Combined with the efficient 4nm chip, Nothing claims you can get up to 2 full days on a single charge. In our experience, heavy users can easily get a full workday and still have 20 to 30% left by bedtime. Even with lots of video streaming, gaming, and browsing, the 4B just keeps going. When you do need to charge, it's not lightning fast, but it's respectable. The phone supports 33W wired charging. In practice, that means reaching 50% battery in about 30 minutes and a full charge in just over an hour. It does not support wireless charging, so you won't be topping up with a pad, but the wired speed is enough for most people. Overall, this is a big win. Long-lasting battery was a criticism of earlier Nothings, they tended to be moderate, but 4B nails it. It truly lives up to the longest-lasting Nothing phone ever claim. If battery life is a deal breaker, for example, if you do a lot of travel, all-day GPS or gaming, the 4B will definitely impress. The 4B checks off most expected features for 2026. It has true stereo speakers, one on the bottom edge and one in the earpiece, which sound clear and balanced in tests. Volume control is very granular, 160 levels, so you can fine-tune audio. There's no headphone jack or IR blaster, which isn't shocking at this price. It supports 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.3, and NFC, though watch out. The Indian model removes NFC for some reason, while the UK/EU versions keep it. If you buy this phone internationally, make sure you get the right region for NFC or dual SIM if you need it. As mentioned, the 4B is not launching in the US. That means American buyers can't get it through official channels. If you really want one, you'd have to import it from Europe or India, which could be a hassle and might mean missing out on things like some 5G bands or warranty support. Keep that in mind if you're in the US. This is fundamentally a non-US phone. In terms of build materials, it's mostly plastic, so repairs might be tricky, like many phones now. It does have an optical in-display fingerprint reader, fine but not ultra-fast, face unlock via the front camera, standard, and IP64 splash resistance. Haptics, vibrations feel decent for a mid-ranger. They're not at Pixel 8 Pro levels, but certainly not weak either. There were no obvious heat issues thanks to the vapor chamber, even under stress. The Nothing Phone 4B launches at $299, divides at $399 for the 8 plus 128GB model, around $400 before taxes. That's about 50x or £80 more than last year's Phone 3A Lite, but it's still under $450 in most markets. Considering the big battery, the AI features, and the unique design, that price isn't unreasonable. For context, The Nothing Phone 4a Pro launched at $500 with a better camera, so the 4B undercuts it. However, don't be fooled by the 500-ish vibe. Nothing about this phone is flagship specs. It's clearly aimed at the mid-range segment, punching above its weight in some areas, battery, software support, and obviously lacking in others, camera hardware, plastic frame. If that $400 tag is a stretch, wait for a sale or promotion. Budget phones often drop by $50, $100 a few months after launch. The 4B's main selling points, bold design, extreme battery life, and the Nothing OS with AI are fairly unique in this bracket. Who is this phone for? If you value style and battery above all else and are curious about built-in AI tools, the 4B could be a great match. If you want the absolute best camera or raw performance for gaming, you might look to competitors. Buy it if you want a stylish phone with crazy battery life, nearly 2 days in normal use and clean software. You love the idea of Glyph LEDs and a phone that looks different. You appreciate the promise of long-term Android updates and built-in AI features, voice assistant, chat integration right out of the box. You'll mostly use the phone for social media, streaming, messaging, and occasional gaming or photography. You live in a region where it's officially sold: Europe, UK, India, etc., and can take advantage of the 6000 mAh version if available. Skip it if you need top-tier performance or the best camera system. If you play hardcore 3D games daily or rely on a telephoto zoom, a more powerful chip and better camera setup, like on a Nothing 4a Pro, Pixel 7a, or Galaxy S series will serve you better. If you live in the US and want full carrier support and warranty, note that this phone isn't officially available there. An import is the only way, and that can be a headache. Also skip if you really need features like wireless charging or IP68 water resistance, which the 4B doesn't offer. Wait for a sale if you love what the 4B brings but the price is a bit high. Historically, Nothing phones often drop in price or get bundles after launch. Given the price is a bit higher than last year's model, waiting for a discount or for the 8 plus 128GB model to hit $350-ish could make this a no-brainer. Consider alternatives if you're an iPhone user thinking of switching. Remember, you'll be on Android and giving up Face ID in Apple's ecosystem. Also consider the Nothing Phone 4a Pro if available to you, which costs a bit more but brings faster charging and a telephoto camera. If you're on an older Android phone and battery life is your top gripe, the 4B is a worthy upgrade. But if you're already on a modern mid-range like a Pixel 6a or Galaxy A54, the gains are smaller unless battery or the design specifically excite you. In the end, the Nothing Phone 4B is a balanced mid-ranger that stands out mainly for its giant battery, unique design, and clean software experience. It does many things well: easy daily performance, a gorgeous smooth display, sharp enough cameras, solid speakers, and those clever Glyph lights, all while promising long update support. However, it isn't perfect. The mid-range chipset isn't for power users, the cameras aren't class-leading, and some practical features, US availability, waterproofing, wireless charging, are missing. Buy it if you want a phone that lasts all day and tomorrow, turns heads with its look and LED lights, and gives you fun AI features without breaking the bank. Skip it if you need the fastest performance, the absolute best photos, or you live in the US and want peace of mind with local support. Wait for a sale if you want this phone's perks but prefer a bit less financial sting. Ultimately, the decision is yours. We've given you the facts. The Nothing Phone 4B can be a smart buy for the right person. It shines when you prioritize battery and style over raw specs. As one reviewer put it, this phone is built around balance, not headlines. Now that you know its strengths and compromises, you're ready to make the smartest choice. Good luck out there, and happy hunting for your next smartphone.